Patrick MacNee is with us this morning. We just took a look at a clip from the Avengers, and probably it hit its peak with you and Diana Rigg in those roles.
Yes,
what
definitely.
happened then? She left the show.
Well, I think the thing about her was, as I was saying earlier, she portrayed a real feminist, a woman ahead of her time, but unfortunately the bosses at that time were still men who treated women extremely badly, and she said to hell with that, and left, and I don't blame her, and the show collapsed altogether. It's, of course, I can say this in retrospect, but at the time you just flounder around and you've missed the touch that made it successful.
Have you stayed in touch with her?
Oh, all the time. I hope to see her next week. She lives in Scotland. She's married to a lovely man called Archie Sterling. I do a commercial for a car called Sterling,
yes.
and I was born in the city of Sterling, which is all, they're all slightly...
That's
poetic. It is, just the word.
That's a great commercial because that's such a surprise twist on it.
Yes, I'm very lucky that the Bond theme, you know, is used.
The car on the Avengers, when people heard you were going to be on this morning, I had 2 or 3 people here asked me to ask him about the car.
Oh, yeah, well, that was a 1928 Bentley. And there was also a 1932. I mean, they're classics now. They couldn't go more than about 30 miles an hour. I could never change gear in them, which is you should be able to on a double D clutch, but I defy anybody to do it. Oh, they're collector's pieces now. I should think they're over $1 million.
Are the cars still around, you imagine?
Oh, yes, they're all in private collections. In fact, the one that we had was private.
Let's take a call. Hi, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. I was wondering if they ever make the Avengers movie, will he star in it?
Oh, no, not me. Mel Gibson's making one very shortly.
Seriously?
Oh, seriously, yes, he is indeed.
Mel Gibson's going to play your part?
Absolutely.
Why don't you play your part?
Well, because, one, I'm about 25 years too old, and somebody said to me, what do you think about this? You, the epitome of the English gentleman, this Australian playing... I said, well, it's odd. I've lived in the United States for 30 years, and people say, we do like your accent. Tell me, are you Australian? So they think we're based... So if I'm Australian, so can he be.
Australians are...
He's a great actor, too.
Perhaps
they
you
are.
have a cameo in it.
No, I think not. It's nice to watch from a great height or depth. Maybe after I'm gone, you never know. The thing about kids is that they enjoyed it, that it was not violent in the sort of sense of blood and real destruction like we saw in the war. And adults enjoyed it because the dialogue was good and the situations were good. And in England, just after the war, it showed sort of elegance and style and fun and release. We were all heavily sort of, after the war, down.
How long did it run, she asked?
Well, she said, it depends. I mean, I did it for 9 years, so it ran for 9 years originally, but in the United States, only 3 years.
The later programs of the Avengers took kind of a, maybe it was the tempo of the times, took kind of a mean twist to them. They became violently and kind of overtly violent at times when the earlier ones had never been that way, and I kind of felt it lost something.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Why was that?
Because minds turn that way. If you get an original mind, there were it's too boring to mention names, but there were 2 very vital people there. They go. In fact, one of them won 3 Emmys for Upstairs, Downstairs later on. And you'll find when people change, an element changes. I didn't like that change. We all sort of internecine fights. You never know. But you're dead right.
Is it because television programming generally was becoming violent and movies were becoming more graphic and they thought they had to keep up with that?
You know, I wouldn't, but in retrospect, it must have been. Look at it today. We could talk that for hours, couldn't we?
Since the Avengers, you've done a number of other things. What
yes.
projects have you been involved with?
Well, I'm on the 11th with Mrs. Burt Reynolds in Sorry, Wrong Number. I'm doing the Dick Francis books with Ian McShane, you know, the thrillers. I've just done a film called Eye of the Widow, with F. Murray Abraham.
You were in one of the Bond films, weren't you?
I was in A View to a Kill, the last one that Roger Moore did, and somebody was saying this morning, those scenes between you and Roger were so good. I said, well, he wrote them. And he said, you can have all these funny lines, Patrick, but not the punchline, because I'm James Bond. But he was a very funny man.
What is the most satisfying for you of the things you've done since then?
Well, easily Sleuth. I played the play Sleuth, one of the best thrillers ever written, on Broadway for 16 months, can you imagine?
Oh, wonderful.
And so that was very satisfying. I can't do it now because I've the most terrible arthritis in my right knee.
Maybe from all those things you did on the Avengers.
I don't know what it was. I think from an ill-spent life, probably.
All right. Hello, what's your question?
Hello, my name's Mr. Patel. I'm actually from England, and I was at my mum. I remember my mum making me watch the program, The Avengers, a lot, and I had some great memories. But the one thing I want to know is, do you ever get homesick?
It's awful to think that your mother made you watch the show. What part of England do you come from?
Down to me.
Where do you come from?
I'm actually from London, from Harrow.
Oh, yes, because I love to know accent. I never get home sick.
I've got a southern accent, you know what I mean?
I like it very much. No, I go to England all the time. I never leave it. I was there only a couple of weeks ago with Dennis Weaver in MacLeod, and he rode his horse round Trafalgar Square, which at the age of 62, him, not the horse, I thought was pretty good.
Because I'm planning to go back now to England in a week's time.
Oh, well, you'll love it. It's in 1992, you won't even need a passport to go all the way around Europe, you know. England's a great place.
I know, that's a nice thing. Are you planning to do any theatre work back home in England?
If anybody asks me.
Oh, I see. That's good.
Television's easier. Thank you.
Yeah, right, bye-bye.
Yeah.
We're going to take another quick break, and we'll take more phone calls for Patrick MacNee when we come back. Stay tuned. Isn't that... We've been talking with Patrick MacNee this morning. You've got some projects coming up. You say you're going to Dublin to work on something.
Yes, Dick Francis, who was the Queen Mother's jockey and also trainer, racehorse trainer, has written about 33 books, and they're wonderful thrillers. And Ian McShane is playing, and I'm playing his boss. You know, it's well worth doing, and that's why I'm going to Dublin.
Have you had much contact with the royal family over the years?
My contact with the royal family is minimal, and this is part serious. And I mean, I was just making a joke, except that I did it by mistake to a friend of mine in England. He said, "Don't you talk about that like that, about our monarchy? And what about the Queen Mother?" I said, "Well, she's Scottish." Because I was saying that they were German, which they were originally, and I am a Scottish nationalist, and I'm very keen on the Stuarts. Mind you, I was joking. But so it's a very dangerous thing to discuss. I only know one member of the royal family, and only a little, and it's Princess Margaret, and she's very graceful. I think that Princess Anne probably is one of the finest young women in the world today, both through example and energy.
You are on your third marriage?
Well, on your third marriage rather sounds as though you're on the shift, the night shift. Let's say I'm on my last marriage, and both of us are old-age pensioners. We're both 67, and we got married a couple of years ago, and a lovely lady in white married us, and at the end of the hour, and we were all alone, and we were very much in love and cried a lot, she gave us a little folder, rather like that, giving us the best methods of birth control. And my wife, who is Catholic and Hungarian, said she really must believe in miracles, but it is a marriage made in heaven.
Well, that's great, because a lot of times, you know, successful men of your age will go after, you know, women who are 20 years, 25 years old, you know.
Well, that's the way to get a heart attack, they tell me.
What's your question for Patrick?
Pardon?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to tell you how much I've enjoyed your show and watching you act.
Thank you.
You and Diana Rigg are my favorite actors and actresses. I'd like to ask you, of all the roles you've played, which is your favorite? I'll hang up and listen.
Do you know, the word favourite is very dangerous, and people are inclined to ask me which of my leading ladies was my favourite, and which, of course, you never say. Now, the most successful role I ever played is in Sleuth, which is a very fine, magnificent play, and it's a disgusting part, the man is. He's really a psychotic, evil murderer. And I got to a point where, finally, when you say these awful lines of hatred, I couldn't do it anymore. But that is certainly the best part I've ever played. I've played hundreds of parts, mad scientists. My latest film is called The Lobster Man from Mars. Somebody said to me the other day, "Do you have to be in those movies?" You know, as though it was a penance.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Your question is next.
Yes, sir, Mr. MacNee.
Yes.
When you were doing the Avengers, what was it like working over in a foreign country? Because I was in the Marine Corps, and I visited every country except London, England. And I was wondering, how was it working over there compared to working in America as a cop on television?
Well, hold on a sec, you know, I come from England or from Scotland. I was throughout the whole of the Second World War in the Channel and the North Sea. I emigrated to Canada in 1952, and I'm an American citizen. I've been over in this country all that time. But England was home. I go back there. The countryside is the most beautiful in the whole world, and I advise anyone to go there. Skip London, go to the country.
You bet. Hello, what's your question?
Hello, Mr. MacNee. I also grew up with the Avengers, and I'm just curious as to if the Honor Blackman episodes will ever be shown in America.
I certainly hope not, because we did them what's laughingly known as live, which indeed we are doing now, but we're just chatting. You don't have to remember lines. And the mortal fear that the two of us went through. But on the other hand, Honor Blackman's one of the 6 most beautiful women in the world.
I want to show you this book. It is Patrick MacNee's autobiography, called Blind in One Ear, filled with wonderful stories about a wonderful actor's career. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's a great pleasure to have you
thank
on
you
our show.
too.
Want to name the other 5 most beautiful women?
No, not indeed.
Thank you, Patrick. We are going to